Hello and welcome to today's reading for the Divine Masculine and the Divine Feminine and your current union energy going on in your twin flame union. So what is today? Well, when I'm recording this, it's 25th. It's probably the 26th by the time this goes up. And so August is starting to wrap up. So I think it's a good time to reflect on any goals you had for August. How are those things coming along? And to be compassionate with yourself and realize, even if some of the smaller things aren't lining up, how are you feeling underneath all that? Have you been moving anything big in your life, like a big feeling? Have you been moving in the direction of your complete healing, of what feels truly good to your soul? And so that is an accomplishment. And things are going to naturally fall into place much easier when you recognize that. So I just invite you to unwrap any control you have around doing certain things a certain way, just because, you've kind of been, you've been hitting yourself over the head or anything. Hopefully not literally. But just, release control there, because it's you get it, right? If you've told yourself something 15 million times, you get it. Now it's time to let that next step run through you, let God work through you, and trust yourself more that you are getting this, next thing done, whether it's more inner, some action you need to take. And choose peace, choose to eradicate poverty from your life. And so when you make that bigger core choice, these things that you need to do are going to feel a lot easier, because they're not entrenched in this idea that you're actually going to remain in the vibration you are. And even if you're in a very high vibration, there's even higher to go, right? And we want to do it sustainably and in a grounded way. And that's what I have to say as a Capricorn. So let's get started with this reading. It was started. I guess that was me channeling that info too, but the card part needs to start. So these are Nature's Whispers Oracle cards by blanking Angela Hartfield, and Crystal Angels by Doreen Virtue. So I feel really excited to look at these cards today. I was already trying to imagine what they were without flipping them over, which I don't think I've ever quite done that before. I don't know where that came from, but it was an interesting moment in my mind. So I feel really called to start with the union energy, with your what's going on in your union together, and then move out from there. So let's do that, and then we'll see where to go after. Control issues, yellow jasper. Cool. So utilize your God-given strength and power instead of fearing that others may try to control you. Dun dun dun, right? So that feels very much in alignment with what I was just talking about. And so how much more really needs to be said about this? It's just release control in those areas. And this also goes for yourself, feeling you may be trying to control yourself, or a part of you, that only wants a part of your good instead of what actually feels good in the long run for your highest self. Just don't be afraid of yourself. That's why the mirror exercise is there for you. And if you want to take a look at the links below, there's a whole chapter devoted to the mirror exercise in Twin Flames Finding Your Ultimate Lover, so I highly recommend that. You can even always pause the video and go down to the links, check it out. And I help you work through how to do it in coaching sessions, which is super valuable, because even though, if you know how to do it, you're gonna do it on your own. it's really helpful to have someone point out to you where you're not loving yourself, as you might imagine. So something to keep in mind if you really are devoted to your healing and want to take it to the next level. It's super helpful, and I mean, that's why I do it, right? Like I've studied a lot of things, and I got really involved in herbalism for a while, and got certified as a herbalist because at the time it was like the highest way I found to heal my body. But then I found an even better way to in my experience, heal everything. So this is not medical advice. I should disclaimer, right? Spiritual entertainment here. But if for me, the work works, and so this is what I choose to devote my life to, and then everything can stem from that, from the energy of really healing at the core of everything. And so when you choose that for yourself, when you choose to heal, when you choose to eradicate ego, I was just saying this earlier, so now it's fresh in my mind. But yeah, it's so much easier to then just let your control issues go, because it's oh, hey, this does not serve my highest good. I already made that choice. Not gonna go back on that, because why would I, right? That would be insane. And hopefully you don't want to choose insanity, and you're willing to be humbled if you are choosing insanity. And that's kind of the main thing, because sometimes you may not recognize a certain pattern in your life or something that you're doing, or you might be carrying trauma around and haven't worked through it yet. And I have links below for what you can do about that too from the mind alignment process. But the point that I am getting at is just that all you need to do is be willing to heal the places where where you're not lining up with that core choice that you've made. And in that willingness, it's gonna happen. And sometimes you're gonna have more stubborn moments, or be a little bit more blind in certain ways, or whatever it is. Or you're gonna have to see a lesson fully through and not understand why until you get to the end of it, because you're actually clearing a bigger block than you thought you were, and this was the best way or something. But as long as you're just willing, as long as you remain a student of love, and you choose that completely for yourself, and you choose to also give that, and essentially choose to ascend. You choose perfection without being a perfectionist, right? That's not in alignment with perfection. So that's what you're healing, that's out of alignment with that choice oftentimes. So that is also related to control issues, so maybe that's why that's coming up. So it might be something to look at. Is there somewhere in your life where you're waiting on something because you feel it's not perfect yet, so you're just not you're not doing it, but the energy is kind of stagnant, something could happen there. So look at that, because sometimes something genuinely is just it's not time, and when you do it, it feels good, you did it, and you understand that process that you worked through and that feeling. But then there's times when you make excuses not to do something because you have a perfectionist block or another block. So it's important to get clearer and clearer there as you go, and really get to know your divine self, so that you also know when you reach a wall within yourself or something that's not divine, so that you can easily just be oh, hell no to that illusion, or heaven yes to heaven. Yeah. So I think that's enough time spent with yellow jasper. I think we're ready to move on now, and let's do that. So keep your dreams alive. Let's make sure we can see the whole card here. Cool, yeah, so keep your dreams alive. I love getting this card. It's just a reminder after, I feel that first card was more disciplinarian. I had some kind of some things to say there. And then this is really like the complementary energy here. And it's just that reminder, like, hey, when you release your control issues, it's going to be a lot easier to stoke the fire of your dreams. And isn't that kind of what's going on here? Like, I mean, nothing's like on fire, but it's coming alive through the breath. And yeah, it's a really beautiful card. Let's look at it a little closer. I hope it's focusing. I think so. Yeah. Very pretty. So, yeah, that's the underlying union energy. So you just keep that in mind for the rest of the reading. We're going to move on to the Divine Feminine now. We're going to save the Divine Masculine for last, Yeah, so let's take a look at this crystal. Take a moment to appreciate it. I just feel like it. So, nice citrine. Very related to abundance. This is very good for, like healing poverty consciousness. And it's also really good for your creative flow, and those things I have found to be completely like intertwined, because everyone's a creative being, right? But we're all creative in the way that we're like meant to be, and sometimes that's in many ways, and it is an exploration and getting clearer on how it feels good to you to be creative. And that is very helpful for your life purpose and calling in abundance. So new experiences and possibilities. So to me, after what I was just saying, this card is indicating for the Divine Feminine that a good way for her to really go deeper into letting go of poverty consciousness and calling in more abundance, and sparking her inspiration, her creativity. I feel like there's another word I'm looking for here, but that's okay. But yeah, like a good way to do that right now is to do something a little bit new, even if it just even if it just means taking a new turn on your daily walk, like going down a different street, buying a different flavor of whatever food comes to mind for you when I say that. Than you're used to, but something you've been scoping out a little bit, or something you haven't had in a long time. And sometimes that's another thing, is that new experience and possibilities are about revisiting something, because since you've done so much healing work, and you're on your path to harmonizing your union, hopefully if you're watching that, why did I just say that? If you're watching that. Okay. I feel like I need to ground a little here. I'm like all kind of excited. So there must be something here about like some excitement about like like going out into something and exploring. It feels really good, really juicy, and it could also have to do with like being a little pent up in one way or another over COVID. So yeah, just what could that be? What could this thing be for you? Or like I was saying, revisit something that you haven't explored in your reality for a while, maybe even since you were a kid. Could even be putting on, like a Disney movie that you haven't watched in years. It could be going on a hike, could be doing all these things. But sometimes just like this is very refreshing for your mind and stagnation, creating these kinds of like new pathways in your mind. And it's also helpful to revisit stuff and see how you do always have a new relationship, with something that is divine. And so it helps you see like, well, what is it about this movie that I love so much? Like, what is the eternal gift that this movie is giving to me? And if there's stuff you no longer like about it, and you're like, this is actually really boring, like I liked it at one time, then you know. But you're just always going to be getting new information out of life, right? Like you're gonna always be experiencing life in an expanded way. It's always gonna feel juicy And so that's a part of abundance too, right? Like that feeling. And that can be really helpful for eradicating poverty consciousness too, because it's like the same idea as filling up your diet with, stuff that's nutritious, so that by the time you have a craving, oops, I left the sound on my computer. By the time you have a craving for, that ice cream flavor, you're not gonna like overeat it because you're actually already like satiated. And ice cream is maybe not the best example because it's not necessarily a bad thing, but what would be bad about it though is if you go over that limit, and especially if you know you're going over that limit. It's like, I really shouldn't eat this much, but like I'm just gonna do it anyway. And of course you can have compassion for yourself if that happens, but ideally, if you've already taken care of your foundation, and here, if you've already kind of put some energy and work into cultivating abundance in your life and these good feelings, you're going to have less room and less tolerance in your life for what doesn't feel good. And you're not going to be attracting those experiences as much. So it's good to work at it from both ways, right? Like, and sometimes you feel called to more work at it from the positive way, from filling your cup with the good stuff, and sometimes it's time to look at the icky stuff and say, actually, I need some discipline here. I'm not going to eat any ice cream at all for a month, or I don't know, however long, or I'm going to eat some like frozen yogurt instead. I don't, whatever example works for you. So yes, I think that feels complete here. But for now, it's time to look at those positive new experiences for comfort and joy, for true comfort and joy and expansion. Divine Masculine, trust your own understanding. Well, the Divine Masculine is having some great insight here. And so this is just an indicator, like, remember to trust yourself. Like, that's very important on this journey, and the Divine Feminine can encourage her Divine Masculine to do this just within her heart. Like, hey, just a reminder, like, I'm gonna make a core choice to trust myself here, like to trust the love in our one consciousness, and to trust myself as an individual too. And the Divine Masculine can just embrace this message. Like, if there's something that you've had a little bit of lingering doubt about, or that other people are trying to say is, one way, but you're like, I don't think so. So this is some confirmation for you that there's something that you're getting to here, that you're lining up with. It doesn't mean like, discount what other people are saying necessarily, or other information, because sometimes you need that for your healing journey. But it's about trusting yourself and trusting God first, and then it's going to be much easier to also trust your twin flame, because there can be a lot of upsets there that are mirrored to you, or that you mirror, because trust can sometimes be broken in one's life, at one point or another, and that's a big deal, like, however that happens. And so it's really important to heal that within by building that trust. And so it's a nice practice to really recognize for yourself when you're not like you're right about something, like, haha, I was right, but like when you really felt into something and like you were right, you were correct, like you did see something true there. And even if it wasn't the ultimate thing, sometimes the thing that you feel, that you see, or that you even speak of, like the advice that you're giving to someone, for instance, it might be exactly what like is needed in that moment, what you're seeing for their next step, even though ultimately, they decided to like become something else in the long run, career-wise. They needed to explore that thing first, and you felt into that, and you helped them with that step. I mean, you really just have to go with the divine in these places and do your best, like when you're doing things out of love and not out of a place of lack or people pleasing or trying to come off as cool or nice or, whatever on the outside, but you're truly doing it from a place of alignment within, and then you can't go wrong. So it's important to acknowledge all of those times, all of those places, and all of those feelings where you have been onto something that's true, that is a part of spiritual truth and ultimate truth. And really give yourself credit and love in those places, because that's going to help expand and clear your intuition so that you can receive more and deeper, richer insights and higher bird owl mask perspectives and all that. So yeah, you can see the mask hopefully, what I'm talking about. Okay, cool. So yeah, that feels complete for this reading. Check out the links below. Once again, a reminder to do that. And like, share, subscribe, and have a wonderful rest of your week. And I will see you again soon. Take care. Bye.